All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the New Breed podcast. We are standing by our statement. We are the world's best new metal podcast. I am your co-host, Jay Horskow. With me, I have my co-partner in crime, Tim Anderson Jr.
What up?
And the topic of this episode, we are going to talk about new metal trends. So new metal came to the fore in the mid to late 90s, stuck around for a good decade. So we're going to talk about trends, both in the appearance and in the musicality. We're going to talk about fashion. We're going to talk about all the things that were a big part of new metal. Maybe we get some laughs. Maybe we get some embarrassment, share some personal stories. But let's go in. So the first thing we're going to talk about here, Tim, is clothes. So if you had to describe the new metal uniform in one word, what would it be?
Adidas tracksuit. It has to be. I mean, it has to be. Yeah. I mean, who's at the forefront of new metal? Korn, right?
Yep.
So there you go. I mean, I have a little thing here for tracksuits here. So they were started in the 60s. It got to the point they were so popular, people were bootlegging them. Like they were just, you know how everything gets bootlegged nowadays. Well, like what's that shit girls wear? Gucci, is that what it's called?
I guess.
Something like they have like Gucci bags and all that, shoes.
Yep.
People are like, oh, I could tell it's fake because the stitching is different. Like, oh, whatever, dude. Who gives a fuck? But like, yeah, so people were starting to bootleg them, and Adidas actually had to put serial numbers on them now. Like, there's serial numbers on the tracksuit, so you know it's legit now.
Oh, wow. That's pretty fucking, dude. That's pretty crazy and pretty cool at the same time.
Right, dude? So before new metal, like in Jonathan Davis, like it was big in the hip-hop era, I guess, what was some old hip-hop people like?
It was Run DMC, Public Enemy.
Yeah, stuff like that.
They all used to wear that stuff. Anybody coming out of New York, typically.
Yeah, there you go. But Jonathan Davis and Korn, they made it huge in new metal. I think Puma jumped in and endorsed them with their own tracksuits, though, which is hilarious.
Yeah, they went after Adidas. They went to Puma. And if I remember my history correctly, Puma was started by one of the original partners of Adidas that went out and formed his own company.
Okay.
But you're absolutely right. The synonymous with new metal is the Adidas tracksuit. Korn wore them. They beat them to death. I remember going into, you couldn't trip and fall at the mall in the late 90s without finding Adidas this, Adidas that.
Absolutely.
One of the outfits of his that I remember most is when I saw them tour off Life is Peachy. He came out in a purple sequined Adidas tracksuit, and they opened up with Twist, and it was all you had was a light on him in the middle of the stage, and it was wild. But yeah, you couldn't trip and fall without finding. Everybody was wearing Adidas, which also ties to not just the tracksuit, but Adidas clothing overall.
Shoes,
the sneakers, shell toes got a nice resurgence. Samba's got a resurgence. I had a pair. I had 2 or 3 pairs during that time. They were also pretty comfortable. There was the soccer jerseys, right? The V-neck nylon shirts with the 3-stripe sleeves. I had one. My roommate had one. Everybody had one. It was literally synonymous with new metal at the time.
Absolutely. And the pants were super fucking comfortable, man, to like especially lay around in, or if you had to like go to the store real quick and grab some groceries or something. I never owned a top, but the bottoms I always had because they were just super comfortable. And back then you're like, oh, well, if the band's wearing them, I think it's pretty cool if I do. So
right. I had I actually probably have them upstairs. I have a pair of wind pants, black Adidas wind pants, 3 stripes, and God knows they don't fucking fit, but they don't fit. College J and College Horse Cow and now Horse Cow is big difference in this gross tonnage. But they were iconic. Like you couldn't go anywhere without seeing somebody wearing a pair.
Let's get this out of the way real quick, because now that you said Horse Cow, we have to get this out of the way. So a bunch of my friends listening want to know what that means. So get this out of the way real quick.
So my real last name is Hersko. That is the true phonetic pronunciation of my last name. So in college, I got it narrowed down to 2 dudes. It's one of 2 dudes. We were drinking, frat guys, having a good time. And someone said my last name. And the response was, what the fuck is a horse cow? And if you think about it, if you get drunk and try and say Hersko, that's what comes out. It sounds like horse cow. And I ran with it. and it is a nickname I have carried ever since college. To the point where I have seriously considered changing my last name legally because it's easier to fucking remember than the phonetic disaster that is my last name. But yeah, that's where it came from. It was a college nickname that stuck, and it's just easier than trying to remind people how to say and spell my last name.
What origin is Horsko? Or see, I just fucking did it.
There we go.
I just did it.
So it is
Hersko.
It is actually Czechoslovakian.
Okay.
So a country which is now what, 2-3 countries, Slovakia and the Czech Republic and all that. But my dad did tell me that over in the old country, gratuitous air quotes, that last name is fairly common.
Okay.
A lot of people, when they emigrated to the States, changed the spelling to make it more phonetic. So you'll see an Hersko. You will see somebody drop the C and be HRSKO. There is actually a Herskovitz out there. But yeah, I have the original phonetic spelling from the old country that it is what it is. But yeah, the horse cow is a drunken, slurred pronunciation of my last name.
Well, there you go, people, because I have like 6 beers in me, and I just basically said it. So
yeah, there it goes.
So everyone listening, there you go. That's what it is. We all know it now. So you can stop fucking messaging me and asking about that.
Why is the fucking guy the horse cow? Yeah, because I'm fat like a horse and hung like a cow. Whatever.
Like a lot of people are like, "Is that his real last name?" I'm like, "No, it's this." So, but that's thanks for fucking explaining that.
No worries,
right in the
man.
middle. Right in the middle of the new metal trends episode. There you go.
Yeah, it was definitely. Awesome. I'm a proud new metal alumni. Everybody look forward to those T-shirts when Tim and I actually get them going. But yeah, that's where it comes from. So now let's talk about the next trend, Tim, which in hindsight could have been a little embarrassing, but I had a good time with them. Jenkos.
Oh well. Look, can we go just into Adidas shoes?
Oh, sure.
That.
I forgot you had all these notes. Yeah, go for it.
No, yeah. So also with the tracksuits, you had the shell tops, which I think are one of the worst shoes of all time. They're
really?
so fucking uncomfortable. I can't stand when my toe,
bad.
like I hate steel toe anything. Not saying that they're steel toe, but anything where I put my toe up and I feel something hard, I get aggravated. You know what I mean? And them shoes are ugly as hell, dude. They're so ugly. But again, another thing Korn did. Like I said, I personally hate Adidas shoes, especially the shell tops. The worst shoes in existence, in my opinion. I do love their other shit. Like their shirts and shorts are very comfortable. I'm wearing Adidas shorts right now. So, I mean, the basketball shorts are the fucking best ever. That's what I always wear. That's all I wear. If I go outside, it's cargo. But at home, it's basketball shorts, Adidas, because they're just so comfortable.
Yep.
They're expensive, but they're comfortable. I'll pay lots of money for a good basketball short.
Yep. Yeah, right. The trashy Walmart ones don't last. Nope.
Exactly. But next, Jinko. Here you go.
Right. So this is the pants for those of you that if you were living under a rock and don't remember them, in the mid to late 90s, this is where the flared leg opening at the bottom of the pant was equal to, if not larger than, the waist size.
Yeah.
They were a bit ridiculous. I never had a pair of these, but I did have a pair of kickwear, which may or may not be upstairs in my bottom drawer in my dresser. They were comfortable. It was just a big, baggy cut jean.
Yep.
It's just they got a bit ridiculous, as trends do. And then you have, like a 28-inch waist with a 38-inch opening.
Just think if you're wearing extra, extra huge bell bottoms.
Yeah. And then they would drag on the ground. You'd see people like with all like the back scuffed off,
dirt stains and shit.
Yeah. It was not a good look. But if you look at fashion, though, the way fashion works is something catches, and then it gets more and more and more and more and more extreme, then it disappears and it becomes something else. And I think about the example for all the guys, the hormonal guys in the room, is low cut jeans in the mid to late 90s. Right, for girls, they got lower, and then you have Christina Aguilera coming out with the album Dirty, where she basically had to change how she grooms herself to put on those jeans. Right, there's only like an inch or two, and then the trend is done and it moves on to something else. So the Jenkos were the natural extension. I believe they went out of business. They declared bankruptcy. They came back. Somebody bought the brand. They were selling them again, and I think they just went out of business again. I really need to buy a pair for posterity's sake.
Old time sake. I have the whole Wikipedia thing for it right now. I'm going to read it off for you. So Jinkos originally was known as Judge None, Choose One. That was the term for the jeans. At one point, it also stood for Journey of the Chosen Ones. So the jeans, they were a company. It was a company started in France by two French dudes, obviously, in the 80s. So this started in the 80s. They didn't introduce them until 1993 in Los Angeles. So basically, they tried selling them as an urban jean, like in like an urban neighborhood. It failed miserably there, so they sold it as a suburban jean, which then it fucking went crazy sales. So I mean, it took over malls and stores like PacSun and stuff. Like, you go to a PacSun in the 90s, you're seeing these huge fucking jeans, and people were loving it, man. They banned them from Orange County, California schools. Like, people were just they had to ban them. Also in the 90s, they started getting bootlegged, and it was a huge problem, which led to them basically, going bankrupt. Like, people were just bootlegging them. Like, I mean, how easy it is to just go, all right, well, here's the waist size. We'll just make them skinnier and then go back to the waist size at the bottom, which is basically easy to do, I guess.
And then stitched a little bit on the back. Yeah, they weren't bad. I mean, I admit I have a pair of kickwears upstairs. I actually at one point had a pair of Ralph Lauren cargo jeans.
Oh, wow.
That had the same sizing as a pair of Jenkos. So at that point, even major fashion, like Ralph Lauren, Tommy Hilfiger, big fashion, they were getting in on that trend. There was a lot of other clothing lines, if I remember, along that same time. There was pimp wear, there was porn star clothing, there was grinding.
Yes.
I actually
Parachute.
had a lot of this. Yeah, the parachute stuff. So that ties to caffeine.
UFO.
Do you remember UFO and caffeine? You remember those pants?
Yep.
I had a pair of those. They were so comfortable. I have a buddy, my buddy Smurf. Shout out to Smurf. He's still wearing them. It's fucking 2020, and he's still wearing his from college.
That's awesome.
Fresh Jive was in on that as well. It was the late. I gotta be honest, Tim. The late '90s for fashion were really fucking weird. This is Pacific Sunwear, right? This is PacSun, and this is Hot Topic first comes out.
Yep.
So now you're starting to see that influence. All that pants stuff was really weird. So now let's talk about some of the other.
It went from really wide pants, and nowadays, like 10 years ago, to really tight pants, which is really fucking weird to me. You know what I mean? Like, why would you want to wear pants, girl? Like, you're basically wearing girls' pants.
There's when I used to work in the city, I would see dudes get off the train and their pants would end 2 inches above their ankles, and I just wanted to pull them down. I'm like, what, did your fucking wife shrink your pants?
Yeah, like, what are you doing, dude? But I have some more stuff for Jinko. Hold on one second. So in 3 years of coming out, they made $186.9 million on these Jinko pants in 3 years. Also, it is said that the widest leg opening for the jeans were 50 inches. That is fucking ridiculous.
Think about that. 50 inches around.
Yeah. It's crazy, dude. And I'll admit, I thought it was cool, and I had 2 pairs when I was younger. I mean, before I was smart enough to realize how fucking stupid it looked. You know what I mean? But I will say, though, the huge pockets in them jeans were awesome. You could carry so much shit in them. Your fucking CD player was in your one pocket. When I was smoking cigarettes back then, I had my smokes, my wallet, my chain wallet, which we're going to talk about soon.
My fucking car. Yeah, you can put anything in there. Yeah.
My house was in there.
12-pack of beer. Yeah, you know. Yeah.
Which is hilarious.
It was. They were fucking nuts. And the thing is, those pockets went down the whole back of the leg, so you could put something in the back pocket. It would literally be behind your knee.
Yeah, it was crazy, dude. Oh, like we said too, they would get dirty as hell, man. And they were bought by a Japanese company who brought them back, like you said before, and then they also went out of business. So you know, who the fucking knows?
Trends. It's the way things work. But yeah, there was some real fun stuff. When I think about like the caffeine pants, which we talked about, that the guy who founded that brand was actually interviewed by a different podcast from Five Rule the World. It was really fascinating.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they were doing, it wasn't just pants, like he was doing lifestyle stuff like DJing and dancing, like break dancing and graffiti stuff. So it was pretty cool.
Okay.
But I remember that stuff. It was fun. I mean, yeah. Now looking back, it's a little bit silly, but you know, it's like my parents looking back on the 70s with the giant butterfly collars and the zoot suits and all the polyester, you know?
Yeah. So I guess we can go into the UFO and parachute pants real quick
Yep,
also.
yep.
Never had them, have you?
I didn't have a pair of UFOs. I had a pair of caffeines.
Okay. Yeah, never had an interest in, the parachute pants. Oh, look who's behind me. There he is.
Yay!
Yeah, I never had an interest in the parachute pants or I guess they were called UFO for the new metal crowd. You know what I mean?
that was the brand. It was UFO, and they sold like a bazillion different colors.
Yeah. I would assume that they were crazy comfortable, though.
Yeah, they were. I had a pair. The caffeine pair I had was canvas, and I had like an almost. Now that I think about it, I had an almost like knockoff pair that was like a army green, army green color, and it was like half nylon, half polyester cotton material. They were comfortable as shit, but again, there was like ginormous leg openings, so you had to tie the bottoms or you would shred them.
Yeah. I know when I was in high school, so I was in high school 97 to 2001. Them things were crazy popular. Everybody had them. The bright orange ones.
Yep.
Bright fucking green, bright yellow, like everything. People love them things, man.
Dude, I was wearing those shits in college.
I would probably wear them right now because just around the houses are probably
so
crazy
comfortable.
So.
Hey, give it another year or two, Tim. It'll come back into style.
Exactly. And now that new metal's coming back, it's
yeah.
like, fuck it, why not? So what's next on your list? And I'll see if it's on mine.
Next we have chain wallets.
Absolutely. Every fucking day I have a chain wallet on.
Everybody had one of these things.
And I don't wear them every day now because it's cool. I wear it so I don't lose my shit. You know what I mean?
Well, that's where it came from, right? It came from truckers and bikers who were worried about losing their wallet when they were either in the rig or on the motorcycle. So it was a utility thing. It wasn't a fashion sense thing.
Yeah, back in the 50s, it was started by it was biker culture. And then it got huge in the 70s with the punk scene.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the 80s, the hair metal scene. And then in the 90s, it was grunge and then new metal. People were wearing them in new metal. So what do you think of them, though?
So I had one in college. I wore it religiously, but again, we know with our age differences, I was in college and you were in high school, so it was almost the same thing. The thing I remember most is the snaps on the new metal on my wallet, on my chain wallet, destroyed my license because when I would sit on it, those two snaps would basically hole punched my license.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the leg openings on the Genkos, right? It started out with utility, and then you notice the kids' chains got longer and longer, and then there were multiple chains on the wallet, and then there was like things hanging off the chains, and it got ridiculous. It's like every other fashion trend.
They got ridiculous. There was like the ultra thick ones that like you would get to like pull a car.
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell are you wearing chains that are weighing you down for? You know what I mean?
But utility-wise, I mean, it worked. You didn't lose your wallet.
Yeah, and exactly. I don't lose my wallet. So, because I lost my wallet in like the 90s and my social security card was in there. Like, never again. That's when I started wearing them. Never again am I losing my social security card. Fuck that.
Nope. So, there's probably a whole bunch of other stuff we could talk about, like with personal branding. There was the bicycle chain bracelets. You remember those where it was like a drive chain?
Yeah.
There was the necklace. It was a very thick, almost a Cuban link with a lock, with an actual padlock on it. There were the tribal chokers made out of vinyl.
People still wear them.
Yeah. I mean, some of that stuff. I mean, honestly, Tim, you go into Hot Topic these days, it's almost like going into a time machine, but they're still in business.
Yeah.
So somebody's still buying that shit. Yeah. Oh, the studded belts. Yep.
Yeah, it's funny, man. Like I've seen people wearing them studded brace or necklaces a lot recently. I mean, fuck it, why not? If you think it's cool, fuck it, go ahead. I'm not going to make fun of your style.
Do you remember the ball chain, right?
Yeah.
And they got bigger and bigger and bigger to the point where it was like, is that a fucking racquetball on that?
Yeah.
What the
you wearing anal beads around your neck, bro?
That's our next T-shirt. You wearing anal beads around your neck. That's our next T-shirt.
Yeah, new breed on the back.
Yeah, right. So coming off that, Tim, coming off of the clothes and the jewelry, let's go to the personal appearance stuff. So another trend of new metal, funky hairdos,
cornrows, dreads.
Yep.
That's next on my list. Yeah.
I had cornrows put in my hair once. I didn't cut my hair for 18 months. I had rows put in.
Oh
I
wow.
felt like my scalp was being pulled off my head. And I had a woman, this woman, Nona, God knows she's not listening, but she did it. And it took her hours to do it on my head because my hair was that long and I used to have hair. And I mean, like it was easy. It was easy to maintain, but like I literally felt like I couldn't close my eyes because I felt like my forehead was being ripped up.
Now, not to sound, because people take anything racist nowadays. Was Rona a black woman?
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're okay. There you go.
Yeah, she said, Jay, I'll put cornrows in. And she came in with a pick and she did the whole nine. And she did a fucking awesome job, too. She had them really tight. But
that's awesome.
I felt like my head was going to pop off. Not for me.
Yeah, I mean, because if you think about it, too, I mean, that whole thing is a black culture kind of thing. You know what I mean? Because they obviously have it. And then you get white people like yourself that did it. So
yeah, I did it. I didn't cut my hair for 18 months. She was like, hey, you want me to put rows in? I'm like, hey, whatever. I'll fucking try it.
But when you think of Rose in nu metal, who's the first one that comes to mind?
Fucking Rob Flynn.
Rob Flynn. There you go, dude. Dynamo, 1995.
Well, his wife is a hairdresser.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that. Okay.
And that's why, like, he actually acknowledged that in some interview I listened to. It was either Jamie Josta or it was Doc Coyle. But he admitted, like, yeah, my wife is a hairdresser. So I got a lot of the shit that I did with my look was because she could do it.
He looks like a complete asshole, though.
Oh, yeah, he did. With the T-shirt, the Reservoir Dogs T-shirt that was like 6 sizes too big.
Yeah.
Yep,
I wish there was a way we could bring up them videos as we're talking because it's so fucking funny.
It's embarrassing.
That Dynamo 95 set is so cringeworthy.
Well, it's
them jumping every 5 seconds. Oh, it's so cringe.
Well, I will say this, Tim. It's cringeworthy to watch, but the music is great. Like like Logan, him. Yeah. They are great musicians. So the music is awesome, but you're like, that literally is like, put 1996 in a time capsule and give it, the Jeopardy question is, this performance perfectly encapsulates nu metal in 1996. And the answer is, what is Machine Head Dynamo?
Yeah, why are you jumping every 5 seconds? It's just so cringy to me. And I remember putting that video up and I'm like, great video, but the cringy shit is awful. And people are like, you don't respect like that era. I'm like, what? Shut up.
Oh, it's embarrassing.
And Dread. Let's go to the Dread thing because that shit is just ridiculous to me. It stinks. It looks like shit. It just
when I think awful. Of Dreads, I think of first I think of Brian Fair from Shadows Fall, but he's not nu metal in any way, shape, or form. And can you imagine how heavy those things are?
Oh man. How much skin fucking flakes are in them? And
the El Nino guys had them. Christian from El Nino had them.
Both Guitar Sicorn had them.
How do you do that?
I don't know. Do you just like get a shitload of gel and?
I think there's like a wax or something you use. I don't know, but yeah, you're right. They got to be heavy and just stinking. Not comfortable. Yeah, because you can't really wash awful. It, right?
No. Ugh.
Yeah, I remember.
We need to get someone from nu metal on to talk about them.
I remember going into a mosh pit or two at a nu metal concert and having some dude's dreads hit me in the face and being like,
yeah, exactly.
God.
That's hilarious, man. We definitely got to talk to people about that. At the end of this episode, we have to talk about guests for a second. But anyway,
let's get Rob Flynn on here. Let's get Rob Flynn's wife on here. We'll start talking about it.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
So we've talked about the clothes. We've talked about the accoutrements.
I want to get in. I want to get into this real quick. Now, in nu metal, we have the trends with the clothing and all that shit. But I feel like nu metal was huge with the drug use as well. Speed, coke, heroin, especially alcohol. Like them bands, man, were just complete ridiculous alcoholics. Would you agree with that?
I would say that the party aspect of it is definitely a big chunk.
Yeah.
But I would also say that it is almost a natural reaction to the grunge guys. Because think about it, right? We had hair metal, which was all coke and blow. It was all hookers and blow, right?
Yeah,
Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses, Rat, Testament, Warrant, all that sort of stuff, right? Not Testament. Rat, Warrant, Striper, whatever. No, Striper was Jesus Band. Sorry, wrong. Bad example. Too many beers. But the 80s hair metal was all drugs and hookers. And then you had the grunge stuff, which is flannels and work boots, and I hate myself, right? There was a bit of like misanthropic.
The hammer look.
Yeah. And now you've got new metal, which is kind of young and trendy. And yeah, there was some drugs and everybody was partying, and, Limp Bizkit partied and all those bands partied and Snot partied. And yeah.
I mean, Korn was doing meth for like
Oh my God,
half the albums.
I went back and watched that Who Then Now home video.
It's so that's cringy
with
as
them recording Life is Peachy. The fucking shit all they did was drink. All they did was drink.
Yeah, there's that one part of the video, because I actually watched it on your Plex, which is hilarious because I didn't know you had it. And there's like the one point where it just keeps going back and forth of them slamming Coors Light cans. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
And I was dying at that, man. I'm like, wow, I remember that from back in the day. Because it's bad, because like them videos make kids feel like they have to go out and drink beers and stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like the thing where like you're like, oh well, one of my favorite artists is doing, so maybe I should start doing that too.
Yeah, there were a couple scenes where you could tell that they were just completely fucked up, like
oh my
wasted.
God, yeah. And the funny thing is, they probably got handed cases of that shit for free, so why not drink them?
Right. I mean, that was the recording budget, right? Like you and I both read that Al Jurgensen book where he talked about they wasted $750,000 to get 3 songs for fucking. What is it? The Psalm 69, and they used to keep their drugs in a different hotel room.
Yeah. Dude, you know what? Not to go off subject, but people listening, that book is fucking amazing.
Absolutely.
Go on Amazon and get that goddamn book. It's so good. Because I remember you came on the first time you were on the first time I met you, you were like, get this book. Because we didn't know we were Ministry fans. And then it's like, get that book. And I read it, and I was blown away how good it was.
He's hysterical. Like, he's insane, but he's hysterical. And you can tell he says exactly what he thinks. Yeah, it's a great read.
The dude would overdose and wake up and just get fucked up again. It's like, Jesus Christ, dude. Like, take a break for a second, man.
Mm-hmm.
So next on my list, I have stage movements, if you get what I'm saying. So, again, we'd have to go Korn with this. How many people bit off of what Jonathan Davis was doing? He would grab the mic like this, you know what I'm saying? And he would go like this, and that's going to look really weird on video, but it gives you the...
Yeah, they had their unique... each band had some sort of unique stage presence in some way, shape, or form. And part of that is just, you and I are both fans of live music, so part of that is just part of the art, right? But it seemed like a lot of that was more pronounced in the new metal years.
Absolutely, yes. And I think if a new metal band in the 90s would have went up there and didn't have a kind of a stage movement, they would be boring, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Korn, Jonathan Davis, pretty much, all these things we talk about, it goes back to Korn, because they did it all. They started the movement. They started everything in there, if you ask me. So it's just, them dudes have to feel like, holy shit, we started so many fucking things, man.
I mean, they could literally stop right now and retire and still be able to look back and say, fuck, look at what we've influenced, right? Like, the ripples are still being felt.
And Dez from Coal Chamber was doing it. He was doing that weird stuff.
He had the old 50s microphone he was using for a bit.
Yeah, I think he still does, actually.
Does he?
I think he does.
That big transistor-looking one? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like kind of like a Elvis mic or something.
Yes.
Yeah. Speaking of that, fucking Danzig is doing Elvis records. We'll talk about that later. It's hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
That's fucking funny.
That's one of those things that comes across my internet travels, and I look and I blink and I look and I go, and just go on to something else.
Yeah, awful. Yeah. So next on my list, Big Fest, Ozfest. Well, we've done a deep dive on Ozfest, but it seems like new metal was huge with the festivals.
Because I think Tim, I think new metal was big because it was the in trend right at the time, right? That was the in thing. That was what everybody was trying to bite off of. So we remember Ozfest went from nothing to something overnight. And it got huge, and then it persisted, and then it spawned Sounds of the Underground and the Metal Mayhem tour,
Family Values.
Fuck, you
got me yawning.
Sorry. It's late and we've been drinking too much. But all that whole and the festival idea has always been something that's been big in Europe, but it never really got big here.
Now,
in the States. And
did
now, and Ozfest was one of the first touring large acts, aside from Lollapalooza, right?
yeah.
That started to cement that as a concept here.
Did Wacken have new metal bands on it? Because Wacken's a huge German festival, right?
I don't know.
It would be fun to look back at that and see if Wacken had them, because I'm pretty sure that's like a huge 3-day, like kind of like a Lollapalooza thing, but it's
Yeah.
in Germany, right?
Yeah, and well, I know that Dynamo did because they had. We talked about this. They had Nail Bomb, they had
Yeah.
Machine Head, they had Biohazard, they had Cold Chamber, they had Pitch Shifter, they had a whole bunch of stuff at Dynamo. So it was not out of the ordinary.
No, not at all. But I'm wondering if Wacken had. We have to. I'm gonna have to look that up
They
tomorrow.
probably have the Vakken Open Air Festival. That's probably on Wikipedia. They have lineups by year, probably.
Yeah, but we would say Ozfest was the biggest for new metal, right?
For the States and for new metal to cement new metal, yes.
All right. So next on the list we have stage outfits. When I think of stage outfits, I think of Wes Borland. I mean, he's up there looking like a fucking squirrel half the time. He's got weird masks on.
Fucking squirrel.
He looks like a squirrel. It's fucking hilarious.
So, speaking of where that, like, the genesis of him being, and I mean, we talked about this in the Limp Bizkit deep dive. Great guitarist, very, very talented, very unique. If you go back, Tim, look up the MTV Spring Break performance of Limp Bizkit.
Okay.
All he's wearing is contacts, a kabuki girdle, and giant cargo camo shorts. So this is before Wes Borland becomes the Wes Borland that we know, that wears the fucking mask and he's all black and like the lunacy, right?
Yeah.
But you can see that there was shades of it back then.
Absolutely. I mean, if I think of stage outfits, it's absolutely him. And then you have Mushroom Head, Slipknot, and stuff, but they're more of the mask kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, Slipknot, Mushroom Head were the two bands that come out with a unique, here's our look, right? Where we're in jumpsuits and we've all got masks. And Mushroom Head had almost the same thing, right? And then you had the Mudvayne guys who did their own thing. Sorry, couldn't help it. But I mean, that album is still fucking great. We could deep dive on that. What an amazing album. But
There's
yeah,
so
that was a thing for a bit. It was that makeup-y stage show.
Yeah. I mean, and who came first? Was it Mushroom? I think Mushroom Head was before Slipknot.
I think Mushroom Head predates Slipknot. However, Slipknot broke big first.
Yes.
So that's why everybody attributes it.
And that's why everyone calls Mushroom Head like the, they ripped it, but they really didn't. They did it first.
No, it was
the
same time, yeah.
I guess whoever at Roadrunner didn't notice Mushroom Head, they noticed Slipknot. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And plus, Mushroom Head came out of Clevo, and then you had Slipknot coming out of Des Moines, which is some fucking ass fuck town in Iowa.
Yeah.
Which kind of gives it more of a like, hey, no one knows where the fuck Des Moines is, mate. Let's get this band out.
Yeah, but this is bananas. So where are these guys coming from? Yeah.
And how do you get 9 people with all the same attributes to want to do that band coming out of somewhere like that? So it kind of makes sense,
So in along those same vein of stage outfits, right? Makeup, masks, jumpsuits. We talked about tracksuits. How about how iconic Fred Durst made the New York Yankees hat? Like the red one
is next on my list.
The red one was his thing, right? Like every music video, the cover of Significant Other, he had a red New York Yankees hat on.
Yeah. And how many people ripped that back then?
You couldn't walk around without finding somebody in some color Yankees hat, because that was the thing. Not only was it red, then they had yellow, they had blue, they had white, they had green, they had all these fucking weird fluorescent colors. Somebody was selling them.
Oh, absolutely.
And somebody was buying them.
And they still do, yeah. I mean, but he made it, what's that word? Synonymous?
Yes. Synonymous with new metal. Yep.
Yeah, and it's a big thing, and I think people hated him too because of that hat. Like, oh, there goes that douchebag with that red fucking hat on. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And like we said before, Fred was is probably the most hated dude in nu metal. He's probably still hated for God knows what, but you know.
So now you got me thinking though, Tim, when you're talking about the Yankees hat, we're talking about back to the Adidas stuff. You know, there is a clothing label that was big during the nu metal years, and they're still around and they still make great stuff. Tribal Gear out of Southern California.
Oh, okay.
I had a bunch of their T-shirts. I had a pair of Tribal Gear. I had a pair of black and white pull-apart jumpsuit. Remember the pants with the snaps on the sides? You'd pull it front, they'd come apart. I had a pair of those. Tribal Gear still makes stuff. It's very graffiti heavy. POD wore a lot of their stuff. Fred Durst, again, if I remember correctly, Jesus, I got to get out more. The Limp Bizkit MTV Spring Break, he had a Tribal T-shirt on. They're still around and still kicking, and their stuff is good quality. Their T-shirts are awesome. Like, it's very unique stuff, and you get what you pay for. So if you want to relive your nu metal days, I suggest going on tribalgear.com.
Speaking of clothing lines, Jimmy was telling me he had a clothing line back in the day. Do you remember a thing called? And I don't remember, like he told me about it, but maybe you might. Do you remember a clothing line called Angry White Boy?
No.
It was like he did a clothing line called Angry White Boy, and it was like a bunch of people in hardcore was wearing them, like Candace from Walls of Jericho, like people from like fucking overseas.
No shit.
Yeah, like hit him up. He'll tell you about it, man. We should get him on here to talk about it.
Yeah, we should talk about Jimmy's hidden nu metal past that he like the redheaded stepchild in the basement. He doesn't want to admit.
Yeah, he told me about that, and I was like, really? He's like, yeah, I had to stop it because of like PC stuff, like Angry White Boy. Like people were starting to, I guess, think it was like racist or something, and he's like, are you fucking kidding me? And then he had like Angry White Girl shirts and stuff, and I guess Candace from Walls was wearing them and stuff.
That's
but
wild.
Yeah, we'll have to have him tell us about that. So next on my list, I have facial piercings. Who's the first person you think about?
Hold on.
Come on.
Well, it's usually the guy from Disturbed.
There you go.
With the fucking chin thing.
That double labrum thing or whatever it's called.
Did you have any, Tim?
I did. I had right here done. On
Okay.
my lip. Or no, right here on my lip.
Okay.
I had my tongue. I had my eyebrow.
Okay.
I had, of course, I have these, the gauges. I still have them because fuck it, why not? And I had a bunch of them like on my ear right here. So yeah, I had my nipples for 18 years. I just took them out like 2 months ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Why? Just shits and giggles took them out?
They just kept getting stuck on my wife beater, so I took them out. And it would like pull them, and then like I'd be like, God damn, that hurts! Like Jesus Christ.
I had a college roommate who got his nipple pierced and passed out in the shower trying to clean it. I had my ears, all up my ears. I had the tragus, or the front part of the ear, that little thing that sticks out.
Yep.
Which was fucking terrible because I pick up the phone to answer it at work. I'm like, hello.
Yep.
I had my eyebrows done. I had double rings in my eyebrows. I actually, while we're fucking oversharing, I had my scrotum pierced.
That's hilarious.
The front of my scrotum, big ring.
When I got my lip pierced,
where'd you go, by the way?
Infinite,
Fourth and South.
There you go. Yeah,
that's who did all mine. Yep.
So me and my buddy Leo, who's probably listening to this right now, we went to Infinite, and I got my lip pierced right here.
Okay.
And he got the head of his dick pierced. And the piercer was like, do you want to watch us? I'm like, fuck yeah, I do. So he got it done. He didn't flinch. He was just like, yeah, whatever. And he got it done. And then I remember like 2 years later, he was like, Tim, dude, I've been pissing sideways for 2 years. So good. What's it called? Like the Franken something? Or something?
The frenulum, or
something like that. Yeah.
I'd have to stop and think. So when I got eyebrows is obviously no big deal, right? They did that real quick. I showed up at home. It was the summer before my senior year, and I come walking in the house. I got my head shaved. I got it dyed blonde, and I got giant rings in my eyebrow. My mom just looked at me, and she went, and she's looking at me, and I'm looking at her, and I'm like, I can't tell if they're going to throw me out of the house. And my mom goes, you have to call your father and tell her, because I'm not doing it. But he was cool about it. But
you were definitely nu metal back
then.
I
was, dude. I got to dig out some pictures. I'll find some pictures to post.
Oh, we have to. Dude.
When I got my scrotum pierced, I walk into Infinite, 4th and South, right? There's these two blonde girls like getting their belly button done, right?
Yeah.
And I walk in and I'm at the counter. The guy goes, "Can I help you?" I said, "Yeah, want to get my scrotum pierced. And the two girls turned and looked at me, and they like ran out of the fucking store. So I pick out the ring. It's a decent sized ring. It wasn't like a 00 or anything. It was probably like a 4 or something. It was fairly decent. We go in the back, and the guy's like, "Well, drop your pants." And I looked at him, and I went, "Oh man, it's cold in here." And then I stopped, and I went, "How often do you hear that?" And he looks at me, and he goes, "Buddy, you have no idea."
Every time.
Every time. So, they use that weird thing, and he goes, "Well, take a deep breath." I'm like, "Well, why?" And he goes, "Well, I'm going to put the needle through." I'm like, just do it. He does it, puts the ring in, whatever. I got it done, and I went and valeted for 8 hours. Right after I got it done. Tim, I got to say, man, I have, everybody has their keys on a carabiner, right?
Yeah.
I used to hang my keys off my fucking piercing.
Oh, my
And somebody
God.
would go, "Who's driving?" And I would just turn and shake my pants and go, "I am." Chicka, 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 chicka. Yeah, good times, man. Good times.
Shit.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope people watch this video.
This is why I use my alter ego Horse Cow and not my real name.
Oh,
because,
it's so good. You hung your keys all over it.
And then I fucked with my dad because I'm home at one point and I'm in the shower. I'm like, "Dad, I think I had a problem." And he goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, something doesn't feel right. It feels like too solid in my groin." And he goes, "What do you mean?" So I took the ring and I started tapping it off the side of the shower. Tick, 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 tick. My dad goes, "That's not fucking funny. You could have had a fucking problem." And he was really pissed off.
Oh, my God. That's how you introduced you having that?
My dad was so cool with it, right? Because this is after my mom passed. So it was
okay.
I mean, it was just me, my dad, and my brother. So it was all dudes. So we basically got away with murder. And I give my dad credit. He handled it way better than I thought he was going to. Like the whole mom going and having to be both sides of the parent equation. But yeah, man.
So, that's fucking hilarious.
I still got upstairs. I have an infinite body piercing hoodie upstairs. God knows it ain't gonna fit me, but I still got one. Are they still business, Tim?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
So shout out to Infinite. Use the code Newbreed to get 20% off.
Yeah, there you go. 20% off of your fucking scrotum piercing. It's funny too. Like while we're still talking about piercings, while I was talking about my buddy Leo, he was at dinner one night. He told me he had like these basketball shorts on, and all of a sudden he hears something fall on like the wood floor, and the ball just fell out of his piercing, and he was like, "Oh my God," because like back then he didn't want his parents to know that shit, and all of a sudden you just hear the ball bouncing, and he was like, "Oh my fucking God!" He's like, "I had to leave and go get another one." It's just fun. I'm gonna call him in a couple days and ask him if he still has that thing.
Oh man, that's fucking nuts. But yeah,
he also had in between, like, where your sack meets your dick.
Yep.
He had that one too. He's a fucking weirdo with that shit, man.
I'd be too afraid to pull it out. But that, I mean, in the grander scheme of things, right? There were Tim, there were things that were part of new metal fashion that actually new metal being so popular helped normalize. The tracksuits, the body piercings, the alternative hairdos, right? And we're going to get into stuff like tattoos and stuff. That new metal being so popular helped normalize it and make it, okay, well, this guy's got the piercing right here in the center of his lip, or he's got his nose done. Or I still think one of the sexiest things on a woman is a real thin ring in her nose.
Yeah, I like that too.
Nothing like it.
I like that too, actually. And it's funny, the next thing on my list is the weird haircuts and the weird facial hair. So I guess we can get into that too.
So when you think of weird haircuts, weird facial hair, who's the first one you think of?
Wayne Static.
Yeah, kabush it. Yep.
Yeah, of course, man. He how the hell did he get that hair to stand straight up like that? Is it just gel?
It's got to be gel or egg whites.
Egg whites?
Egg whites. The old school punks in the 80s when they would do the giant spikes, egg whites.
Really?
Yep.
I'll have to ask. My buddy Vince always used to have the mohawk, so I wonder if I'm gonna have to ask him if he used that stuff.
Yeah, apparently gel or egg whites.
Yeah, and then if you think about weird facial hair, you had the System of the Down guitar player. He always had that weird like goatee thing going on.
Yep, and the bassist had the braided chin, right?
Maybe that's who I'm talking about.
No, the guitarist too had the weird shit and the shaved head, and I know you're not president of the System of a Down fan club, Tim. We've talked about this, but give credit where credit was due. They really did trailblaze a lot of things that not only resonated with new metal, but are still being going on today. And they're still talking about that new fucking album that's never going to happen. People got to get over it.
Now, you're right. I mean, I'll give them credit where credit's due. Don't me wrong. I just don't really care for the band, but we're going to do a deep dive on them. It doesn't matter.
Eventually, we have to, yeah.
Because you know what's going to happen? I'm going to have to listen to the record. So there you go. So
what's next?
Next, I have tattoos.
So
everybody has tattoos. I think you're weird if you don't have tattoos nowadays. Do you have any?
Yeah, I do. I have my whole upper back is done.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. You showed me before.
So let me ask you this though, Tim. Again, like we talked about piercings. Did the prevalence of tattoos in new metal and new metal's popularity help normalize it? Because when you think about absolutely. the 80s rock guys, the Motley Crue did not have tattoos, right? Tommy Lee does now.
Well, he does now, yeah.
They didn't back then, right? Def Leppard were not guys covered in tattoos. Neither were the guys in Poison.
Well, I think back then it was more about sex appeal and what clothing you were wearing and stuff.
Yeah. But even the grunge guys, right? Like Chris Cornell and Nirvana, and none of those guys were heavily tattooed. You didn't see it until new metal. New metal's where you first started seeing it. And I'm going to give the guy credit. The guy from Crazy Town. Yep. Chester from Linkin Park.
Yep.
Fred Durst, who was a tattoo artist. That's how he met the Korn guys.
Yeah, Korn had tats.
Yep. It was just a thing. Granted, they were those cheesy tribal things, which now you look back on and you're like,
oh. Yeah. And that's in my list. Tribal tattooing had to come from new metal.
Oh, it absolutely did.
It's the fucking worst tattooing ever. Like my uncle, who did basically 98% of my tattoos. He was like, dude, I hate that shit. Like, no, don't even ask me to do tribal. I'm not doing it. You know what I mean? Like, it's funny. I should get him to listen to this episode because he'll agree. It's like, fucking tribal's the worst.
Yeah.
And then you see people that have it now and that you could tell that they're like, why did I get that?
It was a thing at the time. Actually, speaking of tattoos, one of my best friends from college, my buddy Guzzy, his thing was always, if you think you want to get a tattoo, write it down on a piece of paper and wait 9 months.
That's a good.
And in 9 months, if you still want it, you know it's a good idea. It's definitely something you should do.
I wish I would have known him fucking 20 years ago.
He looked at me and he said, "Think about our friends that have some really sad artwork." And I'm like, "Ooh, yeah, you're right."
Yeah.
You know, like spur of the moment type things. But yeah, I definitely think, again, this is another thing that new metal will never get credit for, but it definitely deserves it. The prevalence of ink actually helped lead it to be prevalent today. Now,
well, look, here you go. You say it?
Yep, the Deftones. There you go.
There you go.
But I will say this, Tim. The ink that we see today, when you and I go to Wawa and the cashier has ink, it's a different level of ink, right? Hands, neck, behind the ear. Like,
I got behind my ears are done.
For me, it was always nothing above the collarbone, nothing below the wrist.
Yeah.
Right?
That's me. I don't have any here. Yeah.
Everything needs to be colored by a dress shirt. If you can wear a collared shirt, you don't want to be able to see it. But however, if I won the fucking lottery, the first thing I'm doing is going to a tattoo parlor. I'm getting covered from the tip of my chin to the tips of my fingers. Like, I don't fucking care. I mean, giant throat piece and everything.
Yeah, I mean, my chest is done, my arms, my legs, thighs. I have it everywhere. I mean,
and it's not. And so this, I'm going to take a weird dip into my professional life. I worked at a company. I do IT work. I worked at a company where they used to make a couple of the guys that had work on their arms wear long sleeve shirts, wear long sleeve dress shirts because the clients couldn't see it. And this is about a decade, 12, 13 years ago. Nowadays, you show up and you have a polo shirt on and you're inked all the way down to your wrists. Maybe it's just my generation, but I'm just like,
fuck it.
Who did your work?
Yeah. Looks good.
It's held up well. What are you going to do next, right? Like, so if anything, it's a conversation starter as opposed to an outlier. Granted, I don't know what that does with like neck stuff or anything. You know, I had one coworker tell me, if you're going to get something on your neck, get it on the right side because the left side, the cop can see it when they pull up next to you, and that might just ask questions.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Like my uncle has tattoos. Like he has a cupcake on his hand.
Where does he work, Tim?
He doesn't work in a shop anymore. He's actually a bike mechanic now. He doesn't tattoo anymore. Okay. But he has a huge cupcake on his hand. On his finger, he has another cupcake. I'm like, why the hell did you get that? He's like, oh, I love cupcakes.
It's like hilarious.
Like he was just
Whatever.
like, I want to do it. Like he's got them all over his neck and stuff. But like, I like back in the day, like you said, people would look at that and be like, oh, but now it's just like, oh, cool.
Now it's just kind of sort of, it just is, and maybe that's our generation though, Tim. Like, because my dad still, when he sees my tattoo, the first time I showed him, he went, is that real? I'm like, Dad, I didn't draw it on with a fucking Sharpie in the fucking bathroom, right?
Yeah, I mean, and I'll admit, like back then, I got tattoos because it was the cool thing. And now I got like, the sleeves and shit, but it's like nowadays I just look at them and I'm just like, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. It just is.
Yeah. So, I mean, but tattoos were definitely brought up in nu metal, and that's why I wrote it on the list. So, I mean, it was prevalent. You can't go ahead and say it wasn't. So next on my list, I have 7-string guitar.
Right. So now you're getting into like the musical pieces, right? The musical trends. So obviously Korn, right? They had the Steve Vai Ibanez's. They tuned them, first band to do that. It influences Sepultura and Roots. It influences Wes Borland. It influences the Stained guys. It influences everybody. So the whole idea of taking a 7-string guitar and dropping it as opposed to adding the higher tones, I mean, I would argue that without nu metal and 7 strings, you don't have Meshuggah. Without Meshuggah,
fucking going to say that. Like
great
on
minds.
My list, if
minds.
Korn didn't use them, would we have 7 strings so prevalent in the late 90s? You wouldn't. I don't think you would.
No, because from the 7 string, Tim, they went to the 8th string and the 9th string, right? Which is Meshuggah, which is Immure, which is Josh Travis, who's a fucking monster.
Yeah.
The stuff he did with Tony Danza, right? Like that's a natural Tosin Abasi and the stuff he does with Animals as Leaders coming off of Reflux, right?
Yeah.
Like that's where they introduced a new way of looking at the old thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm gonna say it till this day. If Korn didn't do it, you wouldn't have it. Well, I mean, you would have it now, obviously, but you wouldn't have it in 2000. You wouldn't have it in 2002-ish. I think around 3-ish, 4-ish, bands would have been like, oh, you know what? Here we go.
Maybe, yeah. Speaking of that, though, you just told me you watched the Who Them Now.
Yeah.
Did you notice how beat the fuck up their 7 strings were?
Yeah.
Right? Like, they were beat up because there weren't many out there. It was a Steve Vai Ibanez that...
Paint chipping,
sweat. Yeah.
Fucking
but they were beat up because I guarantee you that's because you couldn't find them. Right? Like they weren't like, you weren't strolling in the Guitar Center back in 93 and saying, give me the Ibanez. Give me the Steve Vai Ibanez from Passion and Warfare and I'm going to drop it down.
Dude, if I walk into a music store nowadays, like Guitar Center, and I ask for a 7-string, he'll be like, oh, we have like one. Like they're still not really sold in stores like that. I mean,
so where do you get it? You got to order them?
Yeah, Sweetwater, like where I get all my shit. Sweetwater is the greatest place ever, but like you really don't see 7 strings in stores that much. They'll have 1 or 2, but you can't get the ones you want. You know what I mean? So
I've never played guitar, Tim, but I have from reading interviews. I understand the neck. The more strings you add, it gets thicker.
Way
right?
Thicker,
like you have to really. It's like reaching around a beer can. Like
I'll tell you
big.
what. I have on my wall here. I have 7 guitars hanging. My first one is a 6. My second one's a 7. If you hold the 6, it's a regular guitar. When you hold the 7, it's only 1 more string, but it is fucking huge difference, man. It is really weird, like, because, like, I've been jamming a lot of the Korn tracks, like, just on my guitar, like, because, I have the studio down here, and it's like, when I switch from them, I'm like, dude, like, these are, like, really, really different. But it's weird because when you go back to Korn, it's like, what made them think, like, other than Steve Vai, but, like, why were they like, let's go to the 7? Like, what was that? Like, it was kind of like, this is going to work or it's not going to work. And obviously it worked. But, like, it's just crazy back then to think, like, yo, we got this, man. And people are going to fucking love it. And it took the fuck off. Well, Ibanez is one of the biggest guitar companies ever. So
it's the same. It's basically, Tim, you're nailing on the central theme in this whole episode is that these bands were doing something that they were trying to be unique and inadvertently started a culture or redefined a culture just by trying to be unique.
And you know what's so funny? Nu metal is so hated and such a heinous word to people you can say to people like, hey, like Korn started the 7-string revolution. No, they didn't. It was Meshuggah. It's like, nah, buddy.
Nope.
Or no, it was Dino. Nah, man, it wasn't Dino, dude. If you ask Dino, he got it from Korn.
Yep.
He got it from Meshuggah. You know what I mean? Even though I think Fear Factory was kind of what Meshuggah came from. Tell you the truth.
If you Dino says it, and he's right. If you listen to the interesting, Jesus, Jay, have another beer. The intro riff of Blind.
Yeah.
That's Scapegoat from Fear is the Soul of a New Machine.
Yeah.
It is. So, I mean, sorry,
dude,
not sorry. It is.
Dude, no, from Soulfly that we just talked about. That is the same riff. Loco by Coal Chamber, the same riff.
So I got to bring it up because I'm a big Meshuggah fan, right?
Slipknot, not to cut you off, Slipknot, it's the same riff. They have that in a lot of their songs, and we'll go into that in a later episode when we do the Slipknot thing.
We do need to do a Slipknot deep dive.
Yeah.
Meshuggah, right? So no matter where their sound comes from, or they before Fear Factory, did they begat Fear Factory? Did Fear Factory begat Meshuggah? It is not. I would say that it is not up for debate that once Meshuggah hits Chaos Fear,
yeah,
they become exactly like Converge. And here's where I'm gonna make this analogy, and you tell me if it fits. Converge is one for those listeners that may not be hardcore fans. Converge is a hardcore band. They've been around for 30 years. Converge is always one step ahead of their imitators.
Yes.
So every album they get a little better and a little different, and they stay ahead of the people that are coming behind them to ape their sound.
Yep.
Meshuggah does the exact same thing. So the first album, whatever, Contradictions Collapse, okay, I get it. Destroy, Erase, Improve, Future Breed Machine is one of the best metal songs ever fucking written. I'm sorry, We're not going to argue it. But then they get to Chaos Fear. So now we're doing polyrhythms. And then they get to Nothing, where they're playing 8 strings without a bassist, drop down. And then they get to Catch 33, where it's a giant song in 12 movements. And then they get to the IEP. And then they get to Obzen, where Thomas Hawk is reteaching himself how to play drums because of the shit that you're doing, right? So they're a band like Converge that is always staying one step ahead of their imitators. And can you imagine like me and you being in a band, you know, we're kind of aping Meshuggah. We're big fans. We like what they're doing. And, you know, we're listening to Chaos Fear. And we're like, okay, we can do this. Fucking 22/7 time signatures. We can do this. And then fucking Nothing comes out. And you and I are standing there looking at each other like, fuck, back to the drawing board. Yep. I give Meshuggah the most credit for that because they literally stay 5 steps ahead of their copies.
Meshuggah started Gent, if you think about it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you know what? Honestly,
Gent spun off of that.
This is a hot take right here, people. This is a hot take. Me and Adam have talked about this numerous times. Fear Factory has the most Gent riffs in all their stuff. If you listen to Demanufacture, Obsolete, it's all Gent riffs, but it wasn't Gent. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
All that double bass shit and the guitars going right with it. It was Gent. It's what Gent is today.
Yeah.
So, I mean, let's give credit where credit's due. Fear Factory, Meshuggah. Where did Meshuggah get it from? Probably Fear Factory.
I don't want to dwell too much more on this because this episode is actually going long, but I want to ask you this, Tim. Tony Danza Tap Dance Extravaganza.
Yeah.
Were they Gent?
I would call them more of like a mathy.
Okay. And the reason I ask is it's Josh Travis. You get that riffing, right?
Yeah. And then Neo Miora's rules. So
I haven't checked that out yet, but I have to check it out because I like Josh. So
yeah. All right, well, let's get the rest of these out of the way, and then we'll talk about this after. All right. So next, I have rapping in songs. You have Limp Bizkit, Il Nino, that kind of stuff. What the rapping was
Machine
Head,
Slayer.
Yeah. Tom Aray's my favorite rapper kind of thing. And, Josta. Let's give Josta the credit there because he does have some funny shit. The hard and all that shit.
Yeah. But rapping, that staccato vocals. Yep.
Yeah. And it's funny. I thought this episode would go way shorter than this. Let's go to the next one. New metal bands were getting huge fucking payouts for records. And I want to bring this one up. Il Nino got $300,000 for their first record. $300,000 fucking dollars to put that record out.
That means that the 6 dudes in the band if they spent no money on recording, got $50,000 each.
Dude, that's fucking sick. And before that, it was El Nino with Jorge. Remember that?
Dude, we might have to do an El Nino deep dive because that Revolucion is a great album.
So fucking good.
But yeah, big payouts because remember, would you say, Tim, that Roadrunner is the label that helped break nu metal? Would you say that it falls really on the Roadrunner feet?
If you don't think that, you're an idiot.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing. I just want to throw it out there.
And if when we do a Roadrunner thing, we have to do a Roadrunner All-Stars episode. You know what I'm talking about? That record?
Yep.
That record is fucking awesome, but we'll go back to that. So yeah, huge label payouts. Korn was getting them. Flaw was getting them. Il Nino.
Right, Flaw. So those third tier, third generation nu metal bands, Papa Roach, right? That stuff that you and
Chevelle.
I are kind of like cringy. Oh, Chevelle's a good band. But we're kind of like cringy, but back then the music industry was still paying. Yep.
Yeah, Static X. They were getting them. Mudvayne was getting them.
I love that first Mudvayne album. The rest of them, though, I can throw them out.
No, their second record's amazing.
We gotta. We're gonna do a Mudvayne. We're gonna do a first and second record deep dive back to back, and we're gonna talk about that. Okay,
we're going to. All right. So next, DJs. Limp Bizkit, Slipknot, Deftones later on, but I don't like calling Deftones nu metal after the first record.
No, and even like when I think DJ, I think of DJ Lethal from Limp Bizkit, and I think of Sid from Slipknot. I don't think of Frank from the Deftones. I don't think of the guy that Vane just added, who is technically the DJ, but I got to be honest with you, Tim. I don't know if you caught that set on Hate 5-6 where they played the Underground Arts.
Yeah,
he really does add. I saw that show live. It was fucking bananas. That extra guy with the sound stuff really does add a different. I don't want to say Vane, pardon the pun, but it adds a different texture to the music.
So basically, it leaves the guitar player not doing all the stuff with his foot pedals and stuff. So he's okay. Because I haven't seen them live since then. So.
Oh no, it was awesome. That set was fucking bonkers. They were the typical, we're not going to overstay our welcome. They came out, they played as many songs as they could. They played like 28 minutes, and that's it. They were done.
It was like brutal as hell, probably.
Oh, they took maybe one break, one segue, and that was it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was sick.
I seen them at This Is Hardcore. I think it was last year, right?
I think so, yeah.
And they didn't. I don't think they had that DJ back then.
I am hoping that right now they're all holed up. They in particular, Vane as a band is holed up writing their next LP because they're all in the same area. So it's not like they can sneak away somewhere and go to a studio. But we can talk about bands that have getting away from nu metal, right? We can talk about bands that have lost all the momentum with this coronavirus shit. But I'm really hoping Vane is one of those bands that they're just getting leaner and meaner and practicing, and they're going to come out and the next album is going to be like every band, right, from the coronavirus shit. I'm hoping they all come out the gate and it's just pure hate, right?
I think the new Vane record is going to be nu metal.
Yeah.
And you look at it, Code Orange, that's kind of a nu metal record.
That fucking album is great, dude. It's nu metal industrial.
Yeah, it is. It is. I don't really care for that record, but it's nu metal, dude. I mean, let's face it, it's fucking nu metal.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't go ahead and say it's not. It is. That's where they get their influences from.
So we talked about DJs, right? We talked about huge payouts. What we didn't talk about, Tim, I think we have it earlier in the list, cover songs.
And that is my last on my list, but I have two more. Let's get through these real quick.
Go on.
Weird instruments. You had the Water drums in Mushroom Head, which Skinny said they ripped it from Blue Man Group. So people were calling them the Metal Blue Man Group, which is hilarious. Then you also had the Keg drums in Slipknot. Now, to me, what is the point of them?
Hey, we're doing a band. You want in, Tim? Yeah. But I don't play any instruments. Okay. How about we just make you a percussionist and you're in the front of the stage banging on kegs and tom-toms? All right, I'm in.
Am I going to get paid the same amount? Yep. Okay, I'm in.
All right, I'm in.
There you go.
not even weird so much. It's just the off-kilter stuff, right? And we talked about this. There's the upright bass in Dub War. There is the bongos that they use in El Nino. They use the bongos in the first Incubus album. There's a lot of that stuff where bands were really just getting a little nuts.
Yeah, I mean, El Nino beat when they were playing live, like with that first record, they had 2 drummers on stage, 2 full drum sets.
So did Power Man 5000. They had a second drummer player. You remember them? Dude,
Yep.
I got to admit that I really do enjoy. Maybe we deep dive on that eventually. I enjoy that first album.
Absolutely. We'll do it, man. And
what else do you got?
My next one is Dickies pants. Everybody was wearing Dickies.
Yeah, I had 2 or 3 pairs. Yep.
They were the hardest pants to break in ever.
It's like
boards.
Oh, it's like wearing fucking plywood. They're terrible.
Yeah, it was like wearing Luan on your pants.
It is. It's terrible.
Dude, it's
comparable
so
to that, Tim, I'm going to be honest with you. I am a big Doc Martin fan. I have a couple pairs of Doc Martens, all the pattern stuff. You want to talk about fucking brutal to break in? I'd rather get pregnant than have to break in another pair. It's terrible.
Awful, dude. Just awful.
But yeah, the Dickies pants, they really are like Luan. You got to like bend them at the right spots.
It's ridiculous, dude. And then last but not least, we have cover songs. And we could name so many fucking bands with cover songs. I mean, let's go through the list because I have them written down. I have the notables written down.
So So if you've got them written down, I'm going to go off the top of my head and you tell me what I miss.
Okay.
Okay, so there's Message in a Bottle for Machine Head.
Yep.
There's Faith by Limp Bizkit.
Yep.
There is
Alien Ant Farm, Smooth Criminal.
Oh Christ, I hate Alien Ant Farm. I mean, Ministry, not new metal, covered Lay Lady Lay, which is fucking awesome.
I love that song. Awesome. So good.
But speaking of that, Tim, did you ever get around to checking out the Revolting Cocks cover of Rod Stewart, If You Want My Body?
Yes.
Oh, fucking, I love Al Jurgensen. Al Jurgensen.
He's a madman, dude. Korn did Word Up by Cameo. They also did another
I never
Brick in the
heard
Wall.
that.
Yeah, they did another Brick in the Wall by Pink Floyd. Orgy, Blue Monday.
Oh, Orgy. How did I forget? That was Tim, that was their only song.
Yeah. Papa Roach did Gouge Away by the Pixies. Remember Coal Chamber did Shock the Monkey by Peter Gabriel?
Oh, I forgot about that. And Fear Factory did Cars by Gary Newman.
Fear Factory did Cars. Ozzy was also on that Coal Chamber song.
I didn't know that. I forgot about that song.
Disturbed did Land of Confusion.
Yeah.
Dope did Rebel Yell by Billy Idol.
Ugh.
Non-Point did In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins. I mean,
his voice is good. Like, he's got a voice.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's so many more too that we could. That's what I've written down. That was good, but
we should. When we eventually get around to spinning up Spotify playlists, we'll do a playlist of just the cover songs.
Absolutely, dude. Yeah.
There's a lot out there, a lot. But I think Limp Bizkit starts it all. Without Faith, you don't have all these bands biting, or Faith, Faith and Blue Monday. You don't have all these other bands biting on the covers.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, Korn did Wicked.
You're right.
It did Wicked on the second album.
Yeah. They did Wicked, yeah. To end this episode, I read this article by this chick named Lauren. She said she did the top 10 new metal fashion violations. And I want to go through this real quick. So in her article, she writes, violation, aggravated dreadlock assault, most grievous offender, Korn. So she writes, the band at the forefront of the new metal movement, Korn, is directly or indirectly responsible for 75% of the offenses on this list. Most notably, Korn needs to answer for the white guy dreadlocks worn by one of every 4 new metal band. This list is awesome. So next we have violation is indecent display of a beard. Most grievous offender, System of a Down. One beard elastic is too many. 16 is outrageous.
Yep. We talked about that. Yeah, his ponytailed beard.
Yeah, so next violation is conspiracy to grow goatee. Most grievous offender, Lacuna Coil, which I don't really consider Lacuna Coil.
I don't know that one.
Lacuna Coil is a great band, but 5 dudes with matching chin growth. Coincidence? We think not. This fucking list. I was dying at this list, man. So next violation is excessive overstyling. Most grievous offender, Papa Roach, and I agree with that.
Yeah.
That dude wanted to be James from 18 Vision so bad.
Yeah, it was a bit much.
Absolutely, man. So next you have unlawful use of highlights. Offender, five finger death punch. She writes, dudes with highlights are one thing, but dudes with bleached, dipped dreadlocks are quite another.
Yeah, that's a little bit much. Yeesh.
So good. Next violation is failure to yield to baldness, which is drowning pool. Oh my God. Nothing makes a receding hairline more prominent than dreadlocks.
Yeah. I always think of when I saw Devin Townsend strapping a lad open for Meshuggah. One of the first things he said when he came out is fear the skullet because he was bald up top and he had it long in the back.
Dude. It's the best, man. Next is prosthetic soul patch and most grievous offender, disturbed.
Yeah.
She writes, not sure what's worse, the pervy comb Hitler look in his eye or two giant metal prongs coming out of his chin. Next to egregious tattoos is Avenged Sevenfold. She writes, just terrible band.
I don't know anything about them except for the one guy's name is Zachy Vengeance, and that should be grounds to punch him in the face.
Yeah, and I wouldn't consider them a new metal band, to tell you the truth. But next one is failure to maintain a unified hair color, Saliva. So, not sure if he's grabbing his elbow or showcasing his freshly painted nails. Great article though. If you read the whole thing, I didn't.
Yeah, you guys send me a link. I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, it's hilarious, man. But this episode went way longer than I thought, but it was a good time.
No shit. So I think in summation, Tim, to take it home, I think the thesis or the summary that we come out with is there was a lot of goofy shit that came out of the new metal years. However, it does not nearly new metal as a trend or as a fashion does not nearly get the respect that it deserves because it was highly influential to a lot of the stuff that we are seeing today.
Absolutely.
Not only in the music culture, subculture, but generally overall, just generally accepted culture. The new metal introduced things that back then were forward thinking, and now they just are.
Yeah, no, you're right, man. And we'll look on back in this with fondness, if that's what the word is.
I gotta dig out some of my pictures of my shaved head and all that. We'll throw them in the show notes.
Definitely.
So thanks again, listeners. You can find us, email us at newbreedpodcast@gmail.com. What do we get right? What do we get wrong? Is there a trend that we missed? Please let us know. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We have a Facebook group. Tim and I both have Twitter profiles. We're getting Spotify playlists. They will be stood up by the time this episode comes out. So once again, reach out to us. Talk to us. Let us know what you think. Did we drink too much? Did we not drink too much? I apologize for the yawning. On behalf of Tim and myself, I want to thank you all for listening, and we will see you next episode.
All right. Thanks for listening. This is so much fun. Later.